Civil servants are being advised on how to spy on your social media posts about immigration. If you say that you're annoyed about illegal immigrants being given houses in your town, or you're worried about the safety of women and girls, your messages could be deemed high risk. This is the new Resist framework that instructs civil servants to monitor posts for high-risk narratives that could adversely affect certain ethnic groups or new migrants. One of the examples it gives as potentially dangerous are local parents groups. They might cross the line from free speech to harmful rhetoric, or concerns about asylum seekers being given priority housing or benefits that locals have to wait years for. So just look at this today from the Daily Mail. The Mail reported today on a couple living in Newport in Middlesbrough, which is apparently Britain's poverty capital. So sorry to say that on air, anyone from Newport who's watching, but apparently 6 out of 7 kids are classed as living in poverty there. And this couple say that they're not happy that asylum seekers get more handouts than them, like free phones, free food and free accommodation. Is that dangerous to say? Might that stoke community tensions? What about highlighting the town in Surrey where the local council has earmarked £5 million for Afghans to get housing, while 2,500 people sit on the housing waiting list? What about people posting about the case of an Iranian small boat migrant guilty of raping a 15-year-old girl in Oxford? What about the story reported by The Telegraph about the asylum caseworker whistleblower who revealed that she was told to grant asylum to an Afghan man who had been caught exposing himself in a children's playground multiple times? Well, it turns out that the Cabinet Office has a team of 6,000 civil servants working in the Government Communications Service tasked with, quotes, stopping online disinformation, producing counter-narratives and protecting departmental reputation. I don't think they've got much of a reputation to defend, have they? But anyway, this is sinister. There's more, though. Local government association guidance advises officials on how to counter information about the arrival of asylum seekers settling into hotels and vacant military bases, and the sudden closure of the town's hotel to accommodate said asylum seekers. Look, this is pretty outrageous. If you move several hundred Afghans, Eritreans and Somalis into a leafy English countryside town, you are going to get a reaction like this. Today's spying revelations come just months after the Daily Telegraph revealed that there was a secret Whitehall spy unit targeting social media posts criticising migrant hotels and two-tier policing. That was reportedly being done by officials working for Peter Kyle, the technology secretary. This comes as news broke today that British nationals are currently fleeing Britain under Labour. 257,000 Brits left the UK last year. It was predicted that only 77,000 would go. Now, 143,000 Brits also returned, but of course that leaves a net loss of 114,000. So who do we think this 114,000 is? Is it just millionaires? Well, I think it's young, ambitious people too. Yesterday, I spoke to a young man who's doing very well for himself, started his own business, works very hard. He moved his family out of Britain after his young daughter's school in London made the children do a lockdown drill to prepare for a terror attack or a lunatic with a knife. Millionaires are leaving and low-skilled migrants likely to end up on benefits are coming in. If you run a football club, and every year, the most talented players from your youth teams left and moved to other clubs, that would be a crisis, wouldn't it? And if they were being replaced by less good players, some of whom have never kicked a football in their lives or have any intention of ever kicking a football, you would expect the fans of that football club to start getting very angry about it, wouldn't you? But look at what's happening here in Britain. We're losing our best and brightest, and we're bringing in tens of thousands of Deliveroo drivers and benefits claimants. And the government's response to that is to spy on your social media to try to make sure you don't moan about it online. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We, of course, have GB News contributor Will Kingston. We've got Tory MP for Tatton, Esther McVeigh, and journalist Jonathan Liz. Good evening, all. Thank you very much. Esther, I'm going to start with you on this, actually. So, what's your response to finding out that civil servants are essentially spying on people's immigration tweets?
Well, first of all, there's always been a communications centre for a government. They've got to get out the policies, they've got to get out what they're doing and get the information out. However, it has significantly grown under Labour, and what we've seen as well, they've now appointed a permanent secretary as well for this government communication service. So what I would say is they're not dealing with the problems, they're not solving the problems, so what they're going to do is either put out information, so you could call that propaganda, and also stop what people are saying. So in that regard, it is quite sinister. So when the country talks about this government's gaslighting us, well, absolutely it is. If it doesn't like what you're saying, it's going to have some sort of corrective unit. And as I said, that means they're not dealing with actually the issues at hand.
It's also just insulting to our intelligence as well. This was like when the government was being accused of being unpatriotic, and then the next day all of the Labor Party came out with flags, waving them around, saying, how patriotic we are. They think that if you just spin a message, if you put a message out there, people will blindly just go along with it. It really is, it is annoying and it's insulting to our intelligence, but it's not surprising. This government has shown repeatedly now that they want to control how people act, what people think, particularly in the online realm.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, some of these things are just legitimate concerns. So about people being given things like priority housing, about safety of women and girls. But according to that, those could be dangerous, according to people in the civil service here.
Well, I think it's important to disaggregate what's happening. So this is not, as I understand it, about identifying people who are committing crimes and then getting the police to pursue those people. So it's not a kind of a Gestapo type operation. What it is, from what I understand, is identifying the things that people say online that are not true, that are being spread widely, and finding ways to put out information that is more factually accurate. There are some things that will be opinion-based, and that's fine. People are absolutely entitled to their opinion. And also people are entitled to say things that aren't true. That's not a crime. But it is a responsible government that would try and put out information that is actually true.
So it's not actually just about things that aren't true. So it's not like someone saying something factually inaccurate, like there's going to be a new asylum centre here when there isn't. It is genuinely things like parents' groups. So concerned parents who get wind of the fact that there is now genuinely an asylum centre right next to their kids' school, and if they're on some of these Facebook groups or things like that, they are being monitored. They are being monitored by the government, it seems.
Yeah, and also things like groups might say online, we've been waiting for a council house for years and years and years. We're not on it. We're still on a waiting list. But we've seen that people who've just come into our country are now either in a hotel or a house. So that is true. That is a genuine grievance. But the resist unit will look at that and then put it out, overlay it with, no, the policy is working. We will be building 1.5 million new homes, which they haven't got a hope of doing that, and you will be housed. So that isn't putting the truth out. That is a form of gaslighting. That is saying, no, you're wrong, check what you're saying, we are dealing with this, and actually it is you being oversensitive, hypersensitive, and it is you being racist or not open-minded enough.
We're paying for this, right? So we are paying the wages of the civil servants so that they can monitor our own tweets about immigration.
Well, they're not replying to individual sort of Facebook posts. No one from the government, so Big Brother is not replying to, well, actually, you're wrong on this particular point. But I think
but they're then bombarding you with counter information, which is, as I said, a form of gaslighting. It's saying you're wrong and this is what we're doing.
It's not gaslighting, Esther.
It is gaslighting.
The government's allowed to have its perspective. So is the Conservative Party. No. So is any other party. They're entitled to buy into advertising to make that point.
But if you've been waiting on a housing list, you're still waiting on a housing list, and you're a British citizen, and yet somebody who's an illegal immigrant has just come into a hotel. You're not wrong, are you? You still haven't got your house. You are right.
It's not true that asylum seekers are leapfrogging people on those lists anyway.
But they're going straight into a hotel.
More broadly, why should the government be the arbiter of the truth? If there's one thing we learnt through COVID, it is that when the government puts out information, many times it can be wrong. And if it is being put out in a way like this, where people expect a government to have some sort of integrity and some sort of semblance of facts behind it, then it should be up to the media, it should be up to alternative voices, it shouldn't be up to the government to say what is true and what is not true.
but
Well, I don't think that you expect the government to have any integrity, and people will expect...
No, not this
I
one.
expect the government to have... Obviously, I expect the government to have integrity.
Right.
I also expect a government, like any other government, to have its opinions.
Yeah, but all I
and to
wanted the government to
advertise-
do is stop illegal
advertise its-
immigration or build more houses, and that's the solution.
Can I whiz on to, because the other part of this
Oh, yeah.
is these net migration figures, OK? So 257,000 Brits left the UK last year. It was predicted to only be 77,000. And this could be considered a bit of an exodus, right? And my concern is, as I said before, that we're losing our best and our brightest and people who have the potential to go on to be very, very good wealth creators, and we are replacing them with frankly, as far as Britain's economy is concerned anyway, less good people.
Yeah, I can simplify this. Rich people are leaving and poor people are arriving, and that is not a good thing for an economy. But I think in the DNA of the Labor Party, many of them, even if they don't admit it, go... good riddance, if the wealthy want to leave, that's fine. And they don't understand that it is the wealthy that provide the lion's share of income tax revenue, and that will have to be then taken up by the middle class and the working class, which is why, again, we're going to see tax rises in the next budget.
Are you concerned by those numbers of Brits leaving? I mean, essentially, there was that slightly crushing reality today of finding out that the initially I was like, oh, brilliant, net migration figures are down. Oh, this is good. And then I realised they're down because so many Brits are leaving.
Okay, so
Net being the key word.
there were two bits to it. To be fair, what Rishi Sunak did to stop dependents coming in for foreign workers and students did bring it down significantly, as what he did by raising the threshold, your earning threshold. But fundamentally, I have said for a long period of time, it's not just the wealthy who are leaving at the top end. It was actually students going to university, younger people thinking I will have a better life elsewhere. So there's a whole host of people going. And then I would say this was the government's resist unit again saying, no, I was wrong. All these people weren't leaving. There might be 14,000 wealthy people, but not everybody else. No, actually, people in their droves are leaving. And it's not just about Rachel Reeves' terrible budget. It is also about the crime on the streets. It's also about what they've done to education and what they've done to private schools. And people are leaving because they say, you know what, I can have a better life elsewhere. You are destroying the infrastructure, Labour.
Governments, most of all yours, did everything in their power to make Britain a hellhole to live in for many people, a miserable place where wages are completely stagnating, no one has the hope of having a better life than their parents did. They see that people can go to countries like Wales and make twice as much money for doing the same work if you're in healthcare, for example.
Which is true.
Of course, there are people who want to leave Britain because Britain is actually quite a miserable place for a lot of people.
And I will say it has absolutely been turbocharged since Rachel Reeves' budget, since what they've done to private schools.
Only started in 2024, come on.
The crime, the criminality, I'm not saying it hasn't, but it has absolutely gone off the Richter scale. And what we need to do is stop that and bring people back to this country.
It's not about crime. Crime is down in this country.
Oh, it's not.
It is down.
This is
violent crime in London is down.
I'd say this is the resist unit again.
It's just a fact. It's just statistics.
Only 93 people were killed in the capital last year.
Which is a record low, possibly in history.
Basically, less blokes are punching on it in pubs, and there are more knife crime and sexual assaults. This is the danger when you have high-level statistics. You can trick people into actually a narrative, which we can go back to this little unit that's going to be built out.
What it doesn't factor in as well is other things. So just to round us up on this, all of the preventative measures that we now have to take. So when you've got primary schools doing lockdown drills in case a jihadi or some kind of lunatic with a knife comes in, and let's say that happens, obviously hope to God that it doesn't, but when that lockdown drill works, they'll be able to say, right, no kids were killed today, but the fact is someone tried anyway, didn't they? And that's the thing that we're seeing. We're seeing so many attacks thwarted. We're seeing so many security measures everywhere. Rings of steel around a Christmas market, for goodness sake. I had a look last night at Krakow's Christmas market in Poland. There's not one bollard anywhere around there. There's not one barrier anywhere. You don't see armed police walking around all the time from the pictures that I saw at all. It's just a nice, pleasant Christmas market. Why is that? Because they've looked after their own borders, really. And this is one of the reasons why people like my mate have decided to go to Portugal.
Poland's foreign policy over the last 50 years has been different from Britain's. Obviously, Poland has a different demographic of people. Clearly, there are different threats in Poland.
Why do we have multiculturalism bollards now and we didn't didn't have them 20 years ago?
Well,
What's the big difference?
well,
What's the one variable?
That is...
What's the one variable?
The phrase multiculturalism, Bollard, is completely outrageous.
What is the one variable?
Completely outrageous.
What is the one variable? Answer the question.
Well, for one thing, Poland hasn't made its business to invade Muslim country after Muslim country.
Right.
We have.
It's our fault,
That's one.
No,
thing. I'm not saying it's our fault. I'm saying there are reasons.
No, it's all right. It's nice when it happens.
Why Britain is a target in a way that
I wish we
Poland
hadn't
is
invaded
not.
Iraq as the bomb goes off. It's our fault, really. Right. Okay. A government spokesperson has said we are committed to protecting people while online, while upholding freedom of expression to ensure the internet does not serve as a haven for those looking to spread harm, both online and offline. The Online Safety Act introduces clear duties on platforms to tackle illegal content and content harmful to children, including false and misleading information that can cause real-world harm. Companies must assess the risks to their platforms and put in place the appropriate protections for users, helping to protect democratic debate and public safety online. Brilliant stuff. OK.